welcome back to This Week. Time now to get the views of our media and political experts, Nashville Democratic State Representative Brenda Gilmore and syndicated conservative talk show host Steve Gill. Welcome again, guys.
Thank you.
Once again, another busy week. Sarah Palin began the week with her Going Rogue book tour, and like her, dislike her, regardless of the opinion, she draws a crowd. 1,500 people, 6 o'clock in the morning in Grand Rapids, her first stop. She was going to be there for 12 more hours.
Well, and she also draws it on viewership as well. She was on Sean Hannity's show this week, 4.2 million viewers, his biggest viewership in the last several years. She was on Oprah, biggest viewership she's had in the last several years. So she just doesn't have them out there in the freezing, driving rain in Michigan. She has them watching on television. The question is whether that translates into future political support. And she's got rock star status, and you've seen some people be able to translate that into political status as well. I can think of one guy, Barack Obama.
I think whether you're an R or a D, most people appreciate her because she's new, she's fresh, she speaks her mind. I'm not sure that that's who I would want to be president of the United States, but I certainly like her style in terms of her being herself, and I would be interested in reading a book. I have heard, though, in some instances, that a great deal of it is not true, that she has fabricated in many instances.
Well, the Associated Press put 11 reporters to fact-check her book. By the way, the same Associated Press that didn't put a single one to fact-check Al Gore's new book. They put 11 reporters on her book. They found what they claim are 6 errors, and one of them was a difference of opinion of whether or not she stays in fancy hotels or not. They found one example where she did. They called that an error. She said, "I usually don't." That's not much of an error for 11 fact-checkers.
There have been some denial from some of the folks.
Some of the people, in fact, that she even talked about in the book that she worked directly with have said that they're just not true. And I think that when you have that many fabrications, it certainly speaks to your character. But again, I want to read the book.
Some of the people that are denying are the ones that probably don't want what she said to be embraced. I mean, if I had some of the things she says about some of the folks on the McCain staff said about me, I'd deny it too, even if it was true.
You think this is a finger in the wind for her? I mean, she has nothing to lose, everything to gain. She's going to make a lot of money. Obviously, there's a big support from the base there. Can she translate that or look at what happens here to decide maybe in 2 years if she wants to run for president?
I think a lot can happen in 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Certainly, but from what we've been able to see from the polls and from once you get past her base of conservative support, there's just not very much support for her in terms of the independents and some other people that she can grow her support. So I would say no, there's probably very little chance that she would ever reach the status of Miss Clinton or some of the others that we take serious, credible candidates for President of the United States.
Well, again, I think Hillary Clinton had been in the U.S. Senate and then used that national platform. Sarah Palin has been governor of Alaska. The problem is that's a place that is so far away with a small population that this campaign really stop is what she's doing now, is reintroducing her in her terms to a lot of American people who really didn't know her other than through the smear campaign of the mainstream media. I do agree with Brenda. I don't think 2012 is when she would emerge as a candidate. I think she's going to make a lot of money. I think she's going to increase her profile. She's going to be somebody that's going to be able to create a huge PAC, political action committee, that can help candidates, particularly independents, conservatives around the country, and grow a political base, which is kind of what Ronald Reagan did a long time ago. And I think you're looking at a cycle or two down the path when she might emerge as a candidate.
I do think it's smart, though, the way that she's going on her book tour. If you look at the path that she's going on the book tour, most of those stops are where President Obama did very well. So I think that that's a good strategic.
See if she can make inroads in those kinds of areas. Here in Tennessee, budget hearings began this week, and it's really, really bad news. The governor's upset, and there's really not much we can do. We're losing the stimulus money next year. He's looking at departments cutting 6 to 9%. And, you know, we're hearing things, may have to release inmates early, may have to close state parks, may have to cut higher education's money, which means tuition increases, may end up with fewer state troopers. You got your hands full when you go back to legislature in January.
We do. And I think that we probably will see some tuition increases, which, of course, will hurt our students. I don't expect that much of a reduction in education and pre-K. But other departments, I think that we're really going to have to tighten our belts. And once you leave cutting 3%, we really begin to feel it. I think we're going to have an effect of services to our constituents and to the citizens of Tennessee, and that's really troubling. When I hear the stories about mental health being cut and the Department of Corrections, those and children's services, those are just really fragile departments already, and Tennessee is just not in a good place right now.
But we're better off than a lot of other places that have all the Obamonomics already in place. Places like Michigan and New York and California. The state of California right now looking at about a $32 billion budget shortfall. Our entire state budget is about $20 to $22 billion. So while we're having to pare back some, they're looking at 32% tuition increases in the state of California because they didn't kind of follow the conservative path of spending that our legislature has done in recent years. And to Brenda and her colleagues' credits in the State House and State Senate, last year they really fought hard against using the stimulus money to fund ongoing programs and tried to use it the way it could be spent once and then move on. I think there's some examples of where it was probably used as a Band-Aid, but Tennessee's in a lot better shape than other places, and frankly, some of these other states are really going to be hammered a lot worse than Tennessee.
And credit goes to both Republicans and Democrats in the legislature and the governor, because they saved money when money was in surplus.
Exactly right, and I think that we really do need to give credit to Governor Bredesen, one, because he laid out a 3-year budget, of which he was criticized for, but that 3-year budget will even take him past his time when he's in office. And the other thing is that he refused to go into the rainy day fund when a lot of people are saying it's raining now, and we had no idea that it was going to get worse. I do feel like, though, that if we can hang on as citizens, and if we can get this health care package approved, then the president and congressmen can focus their attention on creating jobs, because that's really what we need to do to get this economy moving again, is get those jobs created. It looks like in Tennessee that things are stabilizing, but employers are still afraid to hire.
Unemployment's still high, too, yeah.
Well, I think we should be addressing jobs, not putting a several $trillion-dollar health care package that's going to cost us jobs, cost us the quality of care, and as Governor Phil Bredesen has said, put more billions in cost onto the state of Tennessee. Harry Reid, in the early clip in the show, claimed that this is going to cut the deficit. Well, that's just not true. He is not telling the truth. The Congressional Budget Office report that he cites says it's actually going to increase the deficit $89 billion. That means he's off by over $200 billion in just the first 10 years. The cost is $300 billion the second 10. It will cost us jobs. It will put our economy further in the hole. And if we want to focus on jobs, as Brenda says, which I think is right, we need to not pass this Obamacare package.
Well, when you talk with any of the experts, all of them say that even if we do nothing, that insurance is going to double. It's going to increase. Our premiums are going to increase. And what we see is not only are those premiums increasing, but actually our services are decreasing. Our co-pays are going up. We're paying more for our prescription. So that's not an alternative. Both the Republicans and the Democrats agree, both, that that's not an alternative. And one-third of every dollar right now goes to health care or related services. So in order for us to get this economy moving back strong again, we've got to address this.
And the governor is concerned about having to maybe cut TennCare's budget now and then unfunded mandates, if that happens, coming to Tennessee because of health care. 30 seconds.
We've got a $1 billion deficit now. Governor Bredesen himself says that this Obamacare package will put us another $1 billion to $2 billion in the hole. It will not create jobs, and frankly, there are reforms we can do that won't be a budget buster or damage our health care.
And to your point, we can't just have the status quo.
We can't. And one of the things that even Governor Bredesen has not answered, he's not addressed, is how much will we save by reducing the abuse and the fraud that's now occurring in Medicare and Medicare.
Gilmore,
Extra
Steve Gill.
millions of dollars.
Appreciate your insight. Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.